This thing shipped in May. It's now just arrived, so I don't know what happened. Maybe Steve Rogers took back all the Infinity Stones, then went to go live a long life with Peggy, and then decided to turn up at my door. But either way, he's here now, so let's do this. The team of prototyping 1/6 scale Captain America figure. Here's the intro. Okay, he's finally here, but this thing took forever to arrive at my door. I ordered this thing back in May, and it's just arrived. God knows what happens. 3 months ago, it would have been a very interesting video, but most people have seen it now. But it's here now, so let's actually just have a look at exactly what we get. You've got to hand it to them. They're not liars, are they? They've got their logo there, Team of Prototyping. They've kind of rewritten this bit saying 1/6 scale. It looks like it's been written over by pen though. It's got some blurb about Captain America. It's got Captain America down there, and it's got a photo of the figure. And it is a photo of the figure. Look at how high that head is on that massive neck. It's ridiculous, but at least they advertise what you're going to get. You can't blame them for that. And then we turn to the side, and it's got Captain America down the side, and it looks like it's got a photo of a car exploding, like a 1940s or 50s car. So yeah, it might even be like a screenshot from the first Avenger. And then on the back we've got a picture of the figure again, and again they're not lying. Tiny peanut head. You're getting what they're advertising, and there's a big explosion there. Lots of cautions and warnings. It's a choking hazard, but at least they're not telling you that it's okay for a 4-year-old to play with. And then on this side again, picture of the figure, and it's definitely the figure, Captain America. Captain America up the top, nothing on the bottom. And then we can turn it around, and this flap opens up, and inside we can see that it actually has a picture of the figure from the back, and it looks like the shield can stick to the back. It's got the Team of Prototyping logo, and I heavily suspect that Team of Prototyping is actually just Crazy Toys, like a department of Crazy Toys that's getting a bit experimental with their stuff maybe. Or maybe they've sort of exceeded their cheeky limit, and they've had to, rename and rebrand just so people don't kick their ass anymore. Okay, and inside there is a plastic bag with everything that it comes with, although I've unboxed it now, but yeah, it's all sealed up. So when you cut this thing open, first of all, take a proper sniff inside, because whoo! The chemical smell on that is wow. Like, it hits you in the face just as soon as you cut it open. Okay, so now you've seen the box, let's actually have a look at the figure itself. Okay, and here he is outside of the packaging, and I can still get those lovely chemical fumes from him right now. And yeah, I'm a little bit giddy from it, if I'm honest. Obviously we can tell that the majority of this figure has been cloned from the Sideshow Captain America figure. The forearm gauntlets, the hands, the trousers, the knee pads, the boots, and this torso area have all been cloned from him. But instead of just cloning the whole figure, which they have done in the past to be fair, they decided that Captain America from the MCU probably sells better. So they just slapped on this chest armor area, added a couple of Avengers shoulder pads there, and then sort of recast a head and put it on top of the body. And that's where the problem lies, is the neck is massive, and it's just got that sort of super long neck problem that's like the HC Toys figures kind of have. But for some strange reason they half-arse it, and they come out with these weird sort of giraffe-necked creatures that look like the Soldier Super Serum went wrong somewhere, and these were the side effects of it. But however, you can see that the figure itself is standing pretty well on its own. He comes with a plastic Captain America shield, and this has magnets in the back as opposed to having elastics to go onto the forearm, and there is supposed to be magnets in the forearm, but yeah, it's not great if I'm honest, trying to get this to stick on, and it does just about stay on, but it's very low down, and it doesn't adhere properly, and it feels like that's going to fall down any second. And here is the Captain America shield, and it's very nicely painted. It's very clean. The lines are very, very nice. We can see the sculpt of the star in the middle is very detailed. There is no battle damage, but it looks okay, and I think this has been sort of mimicked from the Age of Ultron one. He's got these magnetic clasps on the back as opposed to the elastics or the straps, and then these tabs can come out so that he can grab one side or the other. You can only use the hand to semi-grab this, but it's going to take a little while because those hands are quite hard because it's a cheaper plastic. He also comes with a stand, and this is where my suspicions that it's Crazy Toys pops up, because it's got that similar sort of stand that a lot of their old statues used to come with. It's got a Captain America sticker on the front. It also comes with a stem here. You just push this down into it as much as you can, and then it comes with this weird sort of crotch grabber thing that you slide down on the pole, and then he comes with a waist grabber as well. And we can see that they've sculpted this crotch grabber so it can nicely and firmly cradle the buttocks, of which he has ample. And then there's a little bit here you can extend out to make the crotch grabber bigger, and he comes with a spring mounted waist grabber. It's very garish, it looks cheap and it feels cheap. However, if we turn him around, this actually fits magnetically onto his back. It should sit up a little higher, but it drops down a little bit. You can say it stays on pretty confidently. However, you know, you've always got that sort of garish long neck that you might have to modify in order to make this look reasonably okay. Okay, taking a look at the head sculpt, it's not that bad if I'm honest. It could have been a lot worse. The eyes are reasonably straight. The skin tone isn't too bad. There is some sort of texture in there to make it look a little bit more realistic, and they could have just taken a full-on Hot Toys head and just dunked it into a mold and recast the whole thing. However, they've actually recast the helmet, the chin strap and the head separately. There is a gap between the eyes, the nose and the mask, showing that it is separate, and you can lift this up and away from the eyes because it is in actual fact separate, and that does help with the realism of it a little bit. It is a shame, however, that this head is way too tiny for this giant fat neck, and that's mostly because the body is actually a sort of a knockoff of the TTM20 Hot Toys body, the Terminator body, and yeah, you can see he's quite bulky. So if you were looking for like a Terminator body with a bit of modding, this might not be a bad option for you to use with a custom Terminator. But trying to get a look at the details on the helmet, the wings are fairly clean, I'd say, but the details and the texture and the side of the helmet is very faint, and it looks like it was, I don't know, lost in the mold a little bit. The lines on the back, there is a little bit of a black wash in there to highlight the lines around the helmet. The line texture on the side is just very faint and it's almost non-existent. But again, the wings don't look too bad, and the A is fairly cleanly painted, and he does have gloss in the eyes, and they're straight. It's not a terrible head sculpt, it's not that bad. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work with this body. If we pull Captain America off, no, I mean, if we pull the Captain America head off, we can see that there is a neck port in there, so we could actually maybe warm it up, pull that head port out, and then maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to squeeze this down a little bit. Might give that a go in a little while, although the size of the head with the size of this neck, it just doesn't work any way you cut it. Okay, another piece of the sculpture is the chest piece, and this looks like a massive action figure piece. It's sort of been glued on from the sides here. You can come around, you can see it's got all the scale mail that he would have had in Endgame. He's got a little star there. There is some paint missing and chipping there. There's some nice texture in the top here. However, the brown paint is bleeding off onto it a little bit. It's not too bad, but it does look very like a big 12-inch sort of Marvel Legends action figure style, rather than an intricately designed 1/6 scale figure. But then it is supposed to be just like a 12-inch action figure. It's not really meant to be a high-end product. The straps on the back sort of join in the middle here by this tab, and they're sort of giving it a slightly metallic shine, which ain't too bad. The casting looks okay, but it's very blatant where the seam lines are, and in certain areas the texture looks really good, but in other areas it's a little bit soft going around the back. And there's this bit here, It's supposed to be separate, I think. It doesn't look like it's meant to, and there's a little bit of funny misshaping here where they might have had to sculpt on the original there, and it looks like they never finished sculpting it properly. And there's a big old chip there which looks like it was like a bubble from the mould or something, and then there's some blobbing down here from the brown paint. Next up, another new sculpted piece for this is the shoulder pads, and they have sort of Avengers logos on there, a bit more of the chainmail armour on there. This side looks pretty good, it's very detailed. They kind of sort of sit up in the arm with an elastic here, but they can very easily ride down. They slide along with this fabric quite a lot, and that's one of the problems with the body. The body is very shiny and smooth. There is no sort of matte texture to it, so there is no sticking. It will slide up and down, as will the fabric. But it looks okay this side. On the other side it's not so lucky. We can see that they've just mirrored the shoulder pad, and now the Avengers logo is backwards. It's painted okay, it looks pretty good. There is some dark wash in there to highlight all the little crevices and the actual armour itself. But you don't want to pose it this side because it just looks like it's stuck in a mirror. Whereas this side, the Avengers logo is perfectly put on there and it looks a lot better. This is definitely a figure of two halves. The upper torso area is Avengers Endgame cap, and the lower torso and below is blatantly Sideshow Captain America comic book version. It's a very strange sort of hybrid of the two, and I'm not fully sure that was the best way to go. I know the MCU Captain America sells a lot better, but if you're just going to do the Sideshow one, just do it completely, and I think people could then maybe make customs of an Endgame cap with it. But however, they probably knew that this guy would sell better if he was from the MCU, so they hedged their bets and they sculpted some new bits for the upper torso. Below the chest area we can see that there is a stretchy fabric that's white here. They've then stitched red stripes down the torso there to make him look more like Captain America. But when I lean it back like that, I don't know if you can tell, but it looks to me like this side is a little bit bigger than this side, so it's a bit uneven. That wouldn't matter if you've got him like posed downwards or twisted or something like that, you won't be able to tell. But when it's straight up and bent back like that, you can see that this side is bigger than this side, which gives me a little bit of the old OCD. It's the same on the back. This undersuit really is nice and stretchy, so you can pose the life out of it, which is really good. There is some red staining on the white fabric already from these stripes, so I won't be surprised if this bleeds off a little more. Come down looking at the forearms, these are all from the Sideshow cap with the little pouches there. They've put some magnets in, but they're not very strong. He's on wrist pegs, and the sculpting isn't too bad, but it does lose some of that sort of confident detail from the Sideshow version. Same on this side, but at least they've painted in the buckles. Next up we come to his utility belt, and this is okay, however my belt buckle is sort of off to the side wrongly. So if I wanted to straighten this out, that belt buckle would be far too over on this side. I'd rather it was closer to the center. However, this was unevenly made, so I might have to either adapt it, modify it, or just do something so that I can get these pouches sort of even on either side of the hips. But the sculpting of the pouches is very nice. They've painted in these snap fasteners, and they've also put a black wash in there. And this slightly pleather style belt is reasonably thick. It looks more sturdier than I thought it would be. Coming down to the trousers, they're okay, but you can see some misstitching in there. This is probably where they got the idea to make this, because they probably had a ton of these trousers left over from the Sideshow version, and they're all factory defects, so they got to work actually making a figure. It's not bad, but it's very sort of erratic. Some of the stitches are too close together, some are too far apart, but to the naked eye, from a reasonable distance, you can't even tell. And the knee pads are recast from the Sideshow version, just held on with elastics, and they look okay, painted all right, and there's a black wash on them. And then the boots, and these are really not bad. Sometimes when you get things like this, they will sculpt one boot and not the other, and then they're uneven, but they've actually got the left and right boot sculpted, so at least it looks symmetrical. The buckles are painted reasonably clean, and there is a nice black wash on there. And look at that, they've even put their own logo on the sole of the foot. That's nice of them, isn't it? Alright, let's check out the articulation. And this head should be unencumbered, like no head has ever been before, just because it's practically floating off the body. He's got a lot of turn left and right. He can look up really high. He can look down pretty well. However, he can't get his chin to his chest just because it's too far up. But there is a really ugly gap there. We knew that was going to happen. Coming down to the shoulders, the arms can go up to shoulder length. There is bicep swivel. There is a double bend in the arms. There is no swivel on the forearm, but they are on wrist pegs, so they turn all the way around. And there is some pivot, however it is slightly encumbered by the forearm gauntlets. Torso, he can bend forward about that much, bend back about that much from the upper torso. If we incorporate the waist as well, he can go forward a bit more and go back a bit more. He can twist quite a lot because this stretchy fabric allows for a lot of articulation in the waist, and it can actually sort of semi-lock into place. So when you turn him all the way round, you can get him quite far across. He does have thigh swivel. The legs can go out to about there before they're restricted. There is a double bend in the knees, but the legs can't go back very far, mostly because of that extra muscular arse. The boots are separated from the top and the bottom, so you do have some ankle pivot. And he's got some thick thighs, hasn't he? I mean, you've never seen Captain America with thighs like that. But then he is supposedly quite notorious for his kicking. And, you know, as Spider-Man said, I was always told to go for your legs. Now we know why. Okay, and here he is, just an action pose. We can see tiny head, long neck, doesn't look too good. But the rest, yeah, it doesn't look too bad. I'm going to mod this guy or customize him somehow. So if you plan to get this guy, you might want to start thinking about modding it. You know, look into getting shorter neck, maybe getting a larger head sculpt, maybe even changing it out a little bit and modifying it to be a different character. As it is stock out of the packaging, this is an easy pass. However, if you're going to start modifying it, I'd say you might be able to rescue this. But as it is, I'd say give it a swerve. Okay guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. If you could do me a favour now, if you can get the fuck out of my cave. I've got an idea on what to do to modify and customise this. But it could all be for naught and it could all go wrong. So stay tuned to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. And hopefully you'll be able to see an update as to what I do to fix this figure or completely customise it to make it something new. Bye bye guys. Oh, can't stop sniffing it. The sculpt of the star is very detailed. However, there is no